Why are you working out harder than ever, grinding it out 6 days a week, but feeling weaker, stiffer, and man, just older by the minute? Seriously, why is it that you're putting in all this sweat equity, but instead of feeling jacked and energized, your joints are absolutely screaming and you feel like garbage? Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tearing down everything you thought you knew about fitness after 60. I've actually got a biological secret to share with you, a true force multiplier, but I'm going to keep that in my back pocket until the very end. First, we got to talk about what's secretly sabotaging your gains. Look, I'm speaking to you from my own personal experience right now. Not too long ago, I was busting my tail in the gym. I was doing the heavy compound lifts, the aggressive volume, the whole 9 yards, right? But instead of getting stronger, I was waking up totally wiped out. Getting off the floor to play with my grandkids meant I actually had to grab onto the furniture just to stand up. The fear of losing my independence, yeah, that was real. And the frustration of grinding so hard just to feel so weak was eating me alive. I was doing everything right, but I was losing the battle big time. I'm going to show you exactly why. And I promise you, I have the exact solution to fix it, but you got to stick with me to the end to get that final missing piece of the puzzle. Honestly, I'd kind of just accepted it as getting older. I figured, well, I guess this is just what 60 feels like. But then, a strength coach who works exclusively with guys our age showed me the brutal truth. He took one look at my routine and flat out told me I was quietly destroying my body. He introduced me to the 3 scientific changes you've got to make to basically outsmart aging and stay strong. Okay, let's dive into this and see exactly what we've been getting wrong. Section 1. The aging muscle trap. To fix this problem, we have to look under the hood and understand the clinical science. Here's the deal. You are using a 30-year-old user manual for a 60-year-old machine. That aggressive volume, the heavy compound lifts, that 6-day-a-week hustle that got you jacked in your 30s, that exact same program is now quietly destroying your joints and wrecking your hormonal balance. You're literally leaving massive gains on the table because, well, you're fighting your own biology. Let's look at that biology. Around age 60, your body develops this thing called anabolic resistance. What does that mean in plain English? Basically, your mTOR signaling pathway, which is essentially the biological switch in your cells that tells them to build muscle, becomes way less sensitive to exercise. And on top of that, your levels of myostatin, which is a protein that actively suppresses muscle growth, actually start to rise. So your body is literally slamming the brakes on muscle growth. There is a literal hormonal war going on inside you. Think about a 30-year-old body. The stress hormone cortisol spikes during a tough workout, sure, but then it crashes fast and the muscle builds over a nice 24-hour window. But in a 60-year-old body, oh man, that cortisol stays elevated for hours. It puts you in a catabolic state that actually breaks down tissue instead of building it. If you train like a young man, you are staying trapped in this toxic cortisol soup. So the bottom line is we need a totally new blueprint. Here are the 3 exact non-negotiable pivots we need to make to work with our older biology instead of against it. 1, drop the volume and slow the tempo. 2, chase mechanical tension instead of heavy weight. And 3, extend our recovery. Let's break these down one by one. Change 1, eccentric volume. We've all been conditioned to believe that more sets and more reps are better, right? But that volume trap is actually working against you now. The magic number here is 4. Specifically, a 4-second eccentric lowering phase. Research actually shows that if you slow down the tempo during the descent of an exercise, taking a full 4 seconds to lower the weight, you produce significantly greater muscle protein synthesis. You flip that mTOR switch we just talked about, but you do it without completely wrecking your joints. And because you're getting so much more out of every single rep with that slow eccentric phase, you just don't need 5 or 6 sets anymore. You got to drop it down to just 3 working sets per exercise. We're talking about training smarter, not longer. By doing this, you give your body enough hormonal runway to actually recover, and you completely stop that prolonged cortisol trap dead in its tracks. Change 2, chase tension. We really need to tackle this ego-driven load delusion. Read this quote and just let it sink in for a second. Your muscle does not know how much the barbell weighs. It only knows how hard it's working. Listen, muscle growth in older adults requires mechanical tension. And the beautiful truth here? You can achieve world-class mechanical tension with way lighter weights, just as long as you take that set close to muscular failure. And to get that tension safely, we're going to focus on the functional foundation. You do not need fancy gym machines, I promise. Push-ups, they'll build your upper body power and bone density. Squats are absolutely vital for sitting, standing, and keeping you independent so you aren't relying on anyone else. And lunges, they correct muscle imbalances and help prevent the #1 threat to older guys, life-threatening falls. These movements safely target the major muscle groups right from your own living room. So here's your exact protocol for execution. You pick a load, or just use a bodyweight variation, that lets you bang out 15 to 20 reps. But here's the catch. You have to take that set to within 2 reps of total failure. High reps, safely challenging the muscle. That's what triggers anabolic growth, without compressing your aging cartilage or wearing down all that precious synovial fluid in your knees and shoulders. Change 3. Extended recovery. Listen, man, this right here is the biggest blind spot where older guys totally sabotage their gains. You don't build muscle when you lift. You build it when you rest. 72 hours. That is your new golden rule. Older muscle takes significantly longer to complete its repair cycle compared to a 30-year-old's muscle. If you hit that exact same muscle group again before 72 hours have passed, it is literally the biological equivalent of re-breaking a healing bone. You are just tearing down tissue that hasn't even finished rebuilding yet. On top of that, you must cap your total workout duration at 45 to 55 minutes, tops. Clinical science from the Karolinska Institute shows that training past 60 minutes produces a purely catabolic hormonal environment. After an hour, your cortisol spikes so fast that your anabolic hormones simply cannot catch up to compensate. 50 minutes of laser-focused work beats 90 minutes of joint-destroying garbage every single time. And now, the climax, the protein force multiplier. Remember that hidden force multiplier I promised you at the very beginning? Well, here it is. You can do all the exercises perfectly, chase the tension, and rest for that full 72 hours, but without this missing nutritional piece, you are still just spinning your wheels. This is the secret sauce that makes all these changes actually reverse aging. Meet your new best friend, leucine. It's an essential amino acid, sure, but more importantly, it is the ignition key that starts the engine of muscle growth. Because of that anabolic resistance we talked about earlier, an older body needs a massive, concentrated spike of this specific amino acid just to even register the signal to build muscle. Check out the typical American diet on this chart. You get maybe 15 grams of protein at breakfast, maybe 20 at lunch, and then bam, a huge 65-gram steak for dinner. The problem? You are totally missing the leucine target threshold all day long. To actually trigger growth in an older body, you must hit a minimum of 35 to 45 grams of high-quality protein at every single meal. You gotta spike it 3 times a day to overcome that resistance. That, my friends, is the force multiplier. So I'm gonna leave you with this question. What kind of 80-year-old do you wanna be? Do you wanna be dependent, frail, and stuck sitting in a chair? Or do you wanna be picking up your grandkids, moving without pain, and just dominating life? Look, it is time to stop making excuses and stop training like you're 30. Adopt these 3 changes, dial in that protein force multiplier, and take action right now to protect your independence. The user manual has been updated, guys. Now go put it to work.